Alright, welcome to the Teach and Learn podcast. Let me actually edit the title. We're talking today about, let's just call it, let's say, Ukraine Conflict 101.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Oh yeah, it's set to private right now, so let me just set it to public. And there you go, Learn. Could you just confirm that we don't have any audio issues?
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're good.
We are good. Perfect. Alright, so do you want to give an introduction to the topic?
Yes. Thank you very much, Teach, for doing this Russia-Ukraine conflict 101. I am familiar with what's been going on with Russia and Ukraine. What I want to try to do today is to really try to understand in layman's way, in layman's terms, what exactly brought Russia to make such a critical and globally affecting move that threw a lot of a lot of countries into not so optimistic future. And yeah, well, it's mostly that. Let's say this is, and the reason why I'm a bit slow is because I'm really trying to understand what is it in this conflict that I want you to talk about. I don't necessarily want you to go over the general idea of what's going on. I want to get to dive into the most important points. So let me ask you this, okay? You are Putin. You're taking today Putin's position, and you're talking as if you are Putin.
Yeah.
And you're telling me your point of view on why you think it's important that you make this move against Ukraine. And I want you to...
Oh, that's a very hard question. Not gonna lie.
Well,
but I mean, that doesn't mean I can't attempt it, but does it feel...
Yeah, well, so I just want you to really embrace the scenario, as in you're no longer Teach, but you're Putin, and you're trying to explain to me, in your opinion, why it's important.
Yeah. So basically, the way I see it, NATO, and I want to just disclaimer that I utterly believe this, and also what makes this a bit hard, right, is the $1,000,000 question is, what does Putin actually think, right? Because I can tell you the Russian propaganda. I understand it really well because I hate it, and to be able to fight something, you need to, understand it. So I can't promise giving you what Putin's saying, but I can promise giving you what the Russian propaganda machine is saying. I'll tell if that's good enough or not.
So it would be good enough, but we would discuss possible secret agendas later on.
Alright, because just to be clear, I was one of those people saying this war is never gonna happen. Do you know why? Because I was like, man, this is the dumbest decision ever. I don't see any rational reason for it. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm just prefacing all of that by explaining why this is such a difficult question before attempting to answer it to the best of my capabilities.
Okay.
So,
Perfect.
basically, according to the Russians, is that NATO has been significantly encroaching on their territories recently. So the question becomes, if NATO is going to be encroaching on your territory, what can you do to stop it? One thing is you look at nations that are considering joining NATO that you consider kind of part of it. Because if you think about it, for a large time, Ukraine was part of Russia or the Russian Empire, even
Mhm.
before the Soviet times. So if you consider that that Ukraine is Russian territory, and now is NATO's gonna put its fangs in it, don't you think it's reasonable for me to wanna prevent that?
Yes.
So that is one of the first things, is the fact that many consider Ukraine Russian, or at least Putin does, right? Another
Mhm.
thing is that Russia is in a very bad position right now as a country. Like, they're facing demographic collapse way worse than most of the, like, let's say, European countries. Definitely
Mhm.
worse than the US because they don't have immigration. They're experiencing brain drain. Like, like there's some people who argue that, like, currently is the last chance for Russia to be relevant is this decade. There is no other, like, chances for Russia to be relevant as a country. So if that's the case, and you again, you know that if they join NATO, that's it. Wouldn't
Wait,
you
so
want capital?
backtrack it. So Russia was facing catastrophic damages before it enters the war?
Yes. Like
Okay, can you elaborate a bit
like
more on that?
the kind of damage where you bleed by 1,000 cuts, and the biggest one is demographic collapse. It's something we're facing, that China's facing, that every country in the world is facing. Only difference is the US has a massive advantage. That advantage being that the US is has a lot of immigration because the US as a country is really attractive.
Mm. So can you talk about demographic collapse a bit?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. So let's say you're a country, right? What is
Mhm.
one of your most important resources that can make you either, let's say, Singapore, which is a very successful country, or the US, which is the most successful country in the world?
What resource I need? I would say
That would
human
make up
labor.
human labor, right? And not just any human labor, but human labor between 20 and 60.
Okay. Mhm.
Because if you don't have that human labor, can you really even say that you're sorry? If you don't have that human labor, then there are so many things you can do as a country. Basic thing is manufactories, right? There's a limit, or have engineers that can program whatever bots are gonna replace your workers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like like all of these things are things that you need population for. And at the end of the day, if you're losing a population, especially the cohort of 20 and 6 to 65, then you're gonna, like, as a country, you're gonna die out really soon, right? Or you're gonna lose supremacy. This is one of the biggest challenges facing China, which is why we're hearing a lot of talks about them invading Taiwan, because again, the time would be now.
Mhm.
So that demographic collapse. Did I explain it well, or do
Well,
you
let me
say
ask you this. So demographic collapse is basically the countries that are losing that do not have enough human labor between 20 and 65.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but well, that's when the collapse happens. But like now in the pre-collapse, you have a lot of people between 50 and 65, and a lot less in the lower cohorts.
Okay. Okay, so Russia was facing that kind of demographic collapse. They started seeing a lot of less and less people between 20 and
Yeah,
50
well,
years.
lower birth rates basically. That's the whole point,
Lot-
right? If you if
well,
you if you have low birth rate, then this demographic collapse is gonna happen.
okay, so it's related to the birth rate, not immigrations then.
Well, one way to solve it is immigration. I
No,
mean,
sorry, I mean like leaving the country. What is it? Immigration is
yes,
leaving the country?
yeah, immigration is also part of it, right?
Okay, yeah.
Right? It's like a confounding issue. So if I want to do something, I think the time is now.
Okay. Okay. And how far ahead are you thinking to make those decisions at this point?
How far ahead are you looking?
Yeah. Like now you say if you need to do something, you need to do it now.
Yeah.
Well, what will the consequences be dire from that problem that you're looking at right now? Provide.
Uh, wait, could you repeat the question?
I'm more interested in seeing how you're gonna end up this round. You said.
Damn. So many enemies. Oh,
Oh, nice. Did you throw your ultimatum, eh?
yeah, I only got one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, if I had it, would have been perfect. But yeah.
You are
So,
doing
so yeah, like that's how you determine the issues. That in 10 years you'll have less people in that cohort, and you'll have way more people that you have to support due to pensions. Because like it's not like most people had just like older generations. Once they hit 65, they're like a net neutral. They instantly become like a net negative on your society. Like in obviously not in moralistic terms, but in like monetary ones. They automatically have pension. They spend less, right? If it's our economy is a lot about consumption. So I mean, demographic collapse is a whole topic on its own.
Yeah, we're not going to dive into that topic really deeply, but what I
Yeah.
want to know is really the urgency of the issue in your mind right now as being Putin.
Well, considering your main rival is not facing that issue, and that issue is literally what's gonna stop your country from becoming one of the best in the world, it's a huge one.
It's a huge urgency.
Well, it's a huge urgency, or you have to accomplish what you need to accomplish now. Because you won't be able to do it because of it, because the gap is just gonna keep growing bigger and bigger and bigger.
I see. Okay, so you need to react now based on that and based on what you said earlier.
Well,
so
but-
NATO
Yeah.
on June 23rd.
Yeah, like an example is, let's say for example, you wanna climb, what's it called, Mount Everest, right?
Hmm.
You would want to do it now, not in 20 years when you're way older and you have, let's say, less physical capabilities. Right?
Yes.
So it's not that it's forcing you, but if you ever wanted to climb Mount Everest and you know the time is now, it would be a huge factor.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. I see what you mean.
Right? It's not like they're attacking because of the demographic collapse. They're attacking now because of the demographic collapse.
Okay. And so I get that. So that creates so you're looking to develop a strategy to improve your position, your country's position globally,
Yes.
and this is somehow fixing your demographic collapse issue? How?
No. Like I said, the goal is not to fix the demographic collapse issue. The goal is to secure the eastern borders. And that will be impossible once the demographic collapse issue kicks in high gear. Like the best example is the Mount Everest, right? If you don't care about going to Mount Everest, then it's a non-issue. Like, you're not gonna go to Mount Everest ever, right? Whether at 20 something, 30 something, 40 something, or 50 something, you just won't.
Okay, so you're saying that the goal is to secure the eastern border. To do that, you need somehow of a cohort between a strong cohort between 20 and 65 years old. It's declining right now, and
Yeah.
you've obviously already reached the peak, and you're on the downfall now. So hey, and okay, and also in your mind, there's no hope to reverse that curve, right? You're not optimistic about seeing that cohort increasing again.
Well, yeah, because the main solution to that problem is immigration, and it's just not gonna work out for you.
I mean, you can also increase the birth rate.
That, I mean, so many countries have tried, none of them succeeded. The birth rate is such a complicated equation. And what makes it complicated is naturally the moment a country becomes more industrialized, you just make less kids because kids be turned from free labor into very expensive investments.
Okay. So you want to secure the eastern border to mainly defend your country.
Or because you believe those eastern borders belong to you and they're rightfully yours, right? Or they're rightfully mine.
Okay, but because one of them seems that you're acting on as a defense strategy, and the other one seems to be acting as an oppressive strategy. Which one is it?
Why not both?
Okay, so you're trying to kill two birds, one stone.
Well, kinda.
Because technically speaking, you do already have a defense on your eastern border. It's not just where you want the line to be drawn.
Well, yes and no. The eastern borders are not super secure. They just die all like, yeah. But yeah, like the basically, if I can secure Ukraine, I'll be way better defended, because having missiles and airplanes on Ukraine is obviously way worse for me. But also, like, Russia is basically a bunch of planes, right? There's a lot of like geographies that dictate that one of these is way better, right? I don't want to open up a map now, but basically, there.
Okay, that's fine. So you're telling me that if we take Ukraine, you will have an easier time defending your eastern borders.
Yes, like it's just geography, because basically eastern Ukraine is full of plains, and those plains, which is like flat land, lead straight into Russian territory.
Okay. Okay, we don't need to really like fact check that or verify that. It's
Yeah.
fine. I take your word.
Yeah, no, it's one of the excuses given. Well, I mean, this is the excuse I'm giving,
Yeah.
but yeah. So
Okay,
if I believe land is historically mine, so it should be mine. That land is crucial for my survival as a state. Then, why would I ever give it up?
Yes. So the thing is that you've already given it up. Like Russia has already
No,
given up.
because if as long as it doesn't join NATO, I can try to install friendly governments. I can fund, quote unquote, separatists there. I can do so many things. But once that country joins NATO, all my options are gone.
Okay, I want to dive more into that then. So why is it that joining NATO makes it, impossible for Ukraine by themselves to decide that they want to be part of Russia and decide to leave
Well,
NATO?
it's more like they don't want to. It's all about them deciding that they want to be part of Russia, and that they don't want to be part of Russia, and they already made that decision, and you don't care what Ukraine wants by itself.
Mm.
Why would I care about what Ukraine wants? As far as I'm concerned, there are Russians being oppressed in Ukraine. That's all I need to go in.
Well, who is Ukraine when we're talking about Ukraine? Are we talking about the people in Ukraine or the president of Ukraine or a certain vote that represents the people of Ukraine? What are we talking about?
Well, first there is the land. Ukraine's land, and that's another reason, contains a lot of resources, and some of these resources could directly compete with me, such as Ukraine has a lot of natural gas. Russia's main export is natural gas. So that too, it's kind of like there are a lot of factors as to why I would want to invade or keep Ukraine under my thumb. A lot of them.
And if they join NATO, then any attempt at invading is a war against NATO.
Exactly.
And then you're gonna get destroyed.
Yes. Well, it's never gonna. You can't do it. It's just because like nukes, right?
Yeah. Well, let's say you decide to go against NATO without using nukes. Do you think you can win?
Have you seen my performance in Ukraine? Like,
I mean, yeah, but to say that NATO is not involved is a lie because they obviously are involved.
they are involved. That is too. However, you also have to take into account the fact that right now, NATO is basically like sending the last generation weapons. Like none of the new generation stuff is being sent. Like the HIMARS are not the latest US systems. They're that generation's US systems.
I see. Okay. Okay, so I mean, as a state, right? As the president of Russia, really your intentions here are to protect the future survival of your state. Is that correct?
Yes. Or its future majesty, its future prestige. There are a lot more things that are more important because, remember, dictatorial countries don't really care about the quality of life of their people. They care about the goals of their dictators. There is no checks and balances. Like, Russia cares about whatever in this case Putin, cares about.
I doubt if you are Putin right now, you would be saying.
No, but I'm saying effectively in a dictatorship, that's how it is. Like, damn, can I get like any healing?
Like if you are actually taking the position of Putin, you would be saying, like, I know you're trying to talk in the third person outside of being Putin,
Yeah.
but I like if you
No, but I'm just clarifying that I don't know what my goal is, but like the survival of a state could be a common democratically elected leader's goal, right? Meanwhile, my goal might be my own survival, not the survival of the state, right? Like, for example, I can't pull out of the war now. If I pull out on the war now and give the concessions that will probably in the long run be very beneficial for Russia, my head is gonna go on the chopping block. Either somebody's gonna assassinate me, or
you're gonna kill yourself.
I'm definitely losing my seat of power. Not kill myself, but I'm losing my seat of power for sure.
Yeah, so you're not gonna pull, but I'm more concerned about what made you make this decision. So right now,
Well, I gave you so many factors, right? There's also another one, which is that I thought I was gonna win, right? No one starts a war they think they're gonna lose. A lot of early polling implied that Zelensky was like super unpopular. So they genuinely, and because I am a dictator, I have a bunch of yes men around me. People that won't tell me stuff like, hey, maybe it's a bad idea that you want to invade. Instead, they'll tell me, yes, the Russian army is the greatest, and the Russian army can defeat. Uh, the Russian army can easily defeat. What's it called?
Yeah, can defeat Ukraine.
Yes.
They're capable of doing it. Yes.
Okay, I know I hate to be that guy on video games, but damn, my team is really not helping. I feel like I'm playing solo here. Like I'm blocking this Orisa and I'm just getting pummeled.
Hmm?
Right?
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, sorry for being distracted. But yeah, so this is another, like, it's all a bunch of possible reasons. And again, like, I can't give you the reason, because honestly, I don't know it, right? It's probably, but what I can say, it's probably a mix of all these reasons. Like, one big failure of the Russian army was the fact that they did not plan, like, their logistics were only planned for the first 3 days. Because they believe they can go in and out, just capitulate Ukraine, install a friendly government, and that's it. Right?
Did you get the game? You got the game?
Yeah, the game finished. I lost.
Okay. But you got the, was it you who got the
Oh, I
play
didn't
of the
even
game?
notice. They didn't
Yeah,
have
I
a
think
it didn't have a Reinhardt. So
Oh no, it was Hanzo. It was Hanzo to play
Oh.
the game. That wasn't you. Yes, anyways. Yeah, no, I see what you mean, and maybe you guys, okay, you being Putin made mistakes in the war, and you thought that you're gonna win it.
no,
in
but
the,
I'm trying to explain that it's a real possibility. It's always was going to be an in and out, and that's why I did it, because the sanctions didn't really come in until a week or two. Like at least the big ones, like Swift disconnection. A lot of the more heavy sanctions only came in later.
Okay, and that really affected your chances of winning.
No, because by that point, that's it. I thought I can handle the sanctions if it only took me 3 days to do this.
I see.
But it took me way longer than 3 days.
Okay, so you really overestimated your strength and underestimated Ukraine because they're now way better trained soldiers that were trained
Yeah.
by the U.S.
Yeah, because I saw they were 2014 Ukraine, like when I walked in Crimea and took everything.
Yes. Well, let me ask you this then. 2014 is like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Why didn't you take Ukraine completely then?
Because the consequences are always higher when you take an entire country.
But what made you change your mind to decide to go and take it?
Because
Eight
they
years-
didn't want to take the whole of Ukraine. They just wanted to put a friendly government. Because if you don't know why they did the 2014, like everything in this war can be traced back to the 2014 Euromaidan. They called them Euromaidan protests. Basically, what had happened was there was a pro-Russia president, right?
Yeah.
And that president, like there was a lot of people trying to sign a deal with what's it called, with the AU, like a trade deal with the AU, and last minute, the Russian pro-Russian president decided, you know what, screw it, we will instead do a sign with Russia, like a treaty with Russia. So people were so mad, they revolted. Then, obviously, they pulled some of the usual, let's say, what's the word I'm looking for? Usual messed up stuff, like killing civilians, you know.
Okay.
And then because of that, they massively lost popularity. And then the guy fled to Russia. Like that president right now is in Russia.
Okay. He's the one that was trying to be installed by yourself.
Yes. Well, he's the one that was friendly to me and did my bidding, and instead of pulling Ukraine closer to like the EU, he was gonna pull them closer to me. But then the
Okay.
people rebelled.
Okay, I see. So when the people rebelled, you realized that the friendly government route is not going to work with Ukraine.
Well, not fully peacefully, no.
And when did that happen? When did you fly the president back to your country?
What? Oh, when
When
did
did
that?
you?
Well, that's the end of 2014. It wasn't like the guy was fully a puppet president either. Like, the guy was a legitimate president. Just he had very friendly ties with Moscow.
Yeah. So in 2014, he became the Ukrainian president. And when was he removed and flew to Russia?
24 end of 2014 or mid
Okay, so in
2014.
a
Yeah.
year.
What? Well, yeah, because he was a president for a while too.
Okay. I see what you mean. Okay. So he was already a president in Ukraine back then, and you came in and took Crimea as he was president.
No, after he fled and was changed.
Ah, okay, I see.
Also, how do I have like 12 eliminations as Zenyatta?
You're a natural healer.
Yes.
And that's called the Euro Maiden.
Yeah,
And
revolutions, right? And then they were replaced by arguably not so good people. A lot of them were very pro-fascist. But
okay.
but after that, like they had a fair election, and now they have a really democratic society.
What Zelensky?
Yes, like Zelensky wasn't part of the revolution. There's I think one or two presidents before him.
Okay.
And Zelensky ran on an anti-corruption platform. So if I can't put because basically the ideal for Russia is if Ukraine is like Belarus, right? A friendly government or a borderline puppet government, and that's it.
So it runs by itself, but it will protect you and will go to war with you.
Basically, share the same foreign policy as you, but can have its own internal policy.
Okay. So let's play what would have happened if you would have decided not to invade Ukraine.
The 2022 or 2014?
2022. So Ukraine would have went to NATO. Obviously, you wouldn't have opposed it. You would have let it go to NATO.
Yeah.
Were you afraid of any significant threat or attack to your country anytime soon?
No.
You were not afraid of that.
No, I'm a nuclear nation. Anyone who messes with me, I can always say, hey, the moment my territory is invaded, I'm gonna start nuking everyone, and everyone will back off. There's no sane country that will want to take that bet.
And was your position as president threatened if you would have let Ukraine go to NATO?
It might have. There is very little evidence, but there still is, because a lot of my voter base is the far right of Russia.
Hmm.
I'm here. Pain is inevitable.
And at this stage, I am half committed.
What do you mean?
Because of the 2014. What happened in 2014, I'm half committed.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I see.
And again, with hindsight, I genuinely doubt I would have taken those actions.
I really think that it was stupid of you not to take the entire Ukraine back in 2014.
I think the consequences may have been way worse.
But why? You took Crimea in a matter of days.
Because it was a surprise attack.
I don't give up that easily.
But yes, maybe it was stupid of me, or maybe what would have happened, like history would have repeated itself. Although it's less likely because the Ukrainian army back then was completely underprepared.
And you had the element of surprise. You would have been able to keep Ukraine. You really played gambled when you assumed that putting a puppet government would work, because you underestimated
Well,
the.
just so you know, they didn't put a puppet government in 2018. Like the people, 2014. I mean, the people had elected like a friendly government. Like it was still elected though.
Yeah. So, but why would they so upset that they had to protest in 2014?
What do you mean?
Like in 2014, the protest obviously showed a clear conflict between what Russia is trying to do and the people in Ukraine.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I'm not really Putin. Maybe there has been realities on the ground that would not have allowed him to invade. Like for example, his military wasn't ready, right? For example, he did not have the chance to do a build-up. Like there are so many factors that I do not know of. Maybe they were struggling and maybe they had a bigger fish to fry. But I know they also had like wars with Georgia, and like took some of their territories.
But for me, yeah, like those factors are important, and here's why. This decision to invade Ukraine is not just based on what's going to happen tomorrow. Like this guy is obviously a forward thinker, and when that forward thinker in 2014, was he not looking at possible challenges that could occur in 2022, such as Ukraine joining NATO?
I mean, think about it too, because the turnaround of the Ukrainian military is so impressive and so historical. In 8 years, they went from a country with like almost no army to, well, a country that can rival the supposedly second strongest army in the world. Right? So like let's not knock down also that the achievement wasn't really ready. And if every year, right? Because I don't want to risk an expensive war regardless, because again, after taking over, and then again, like I don't think even taking over fully over Ukraine was ever an option, because or it could have been, but it would have been like what happened to the U.S. and like Afghanistan, you know.
Yeah.
And if you learn from the U.S.'s mistake, like as long as you have these guys, like it would never have been like an easy thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. Thank you, Mr. Putin, for answering my questions. Now I want to talk to whoever is calling the shots at NATO.
Yes.
Okay, who are they?
Well, usually it's the U.S., but mainly the 22 members. I think it's 22 member states now.
22 member states. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just put that.
Yeah.
Give me one sec. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. Are you looking up the states?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You could, if you want me to simplify it, the biggest, let's say, decision maker are definitely the US, Germany, and France.
Okay.
But, for example, for a country to join NATO, you need like unanimous consent. That's kind of why you're hearing, let's say, Turkey right now blocking or semi-blocking Sweden and Finland from joining.
Okay. Okay. So whoever's calling the shots now, they want to have Ukraine join. Now, do they have unanimity on this?
That's not even two. Ukraine wants to join NATO.
Okay.
That does not mean the opposite is untrue, but like some of the countries definitely want to, like, you know, because NATO's an alliance, right? The stronger the alliance, the better. But
Yeah.
Ukraine wants to join NATO, and that's a very important distinction. And now I have to be very pro-Ukraine because honestly, the previous exercise was painful for me to repeat propaganda. Not only do I know how to like dislike, I also know how to beat it like point by point. And it's like a big one of saying like, you know, like I feel like NATO's getting closer to me. That's not true because, I mean, yes, it is true, but those countries are choosing to join NATO. It's not like NATO's forcing those countries in.
So Ukraine wants to join NATO. They're obviously doing this willingly. Why? What do they gain by joining NATO?
Security. Once you're in NATO, you're untouchable. It's the strongest military alliance in the world. And when you have, you know, a ruler who just invaded your island called Crimea,
I'll find my own path.
you don't feel safe anymore.
Systems online. Weapons ready.
So, I would say that's a large aspect of it.
Hey. Let's
So
get
if
started.
ever all the and this is just me like thinking as thinking out loud, if all the countries would be part of NATO, would you say that this country is at peace now?
Theoretically, yes, if there is an excess that if a NATO country invades another NATO country, then every other single country will attack it. Right? Because theoretically, yes. Practically, I don't know how it will play out.
I feel like
They will
okay,
start
anyways.
having internal politics and stuff, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Which begs the question. Maybe there are already internal politics.
Oh,
going
there
on
are.
Because, yeah.
They 100% are.
So having NATO, being part of NATO, does it really guarantee security, or does it guarantee security in certain countries?
No, 100% security. Like, first, a lot of NATO countries are democratic, right? Democratic nations don't start wars easily. For obvious reasons. Like, it's not because they're so good, it's because wars are very politically unpopular. Like, remember when I told you, like, at the end of the day, Putin gets what Putin wants? That's the difference. If Trudeau right now says, hey, let's go invade China or Taiwan, right?
I don't
He will be out like next election,
Guys over.
right?
Stop the payload.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a good thing. It's not easy to be a warmonger in democratic nations.
It is a good thing,
Yeah,
especially if the country have world peace. You know.
Yeah,
What did we learn?
Okay, so Ukraine wants to join NATO. You as NATO decision maker, right? Whoever you are.
I am basically saying, hey, Ukraine has problems. If they fix them, I'll let them join me.
What are those problems?
Corruption. I mean, like I said, Zelensky literally ran on an anti-corruption campaign.
Okay. And that was agreed upon by all NATO members as if these problems are fixed. Do you have like a
There's a process. There's an official process. Now, I don't know exactly what the process is, not gonna lie.
I've got you.
okay?
Like, I'm not gonna sit down and tell you I know the exact process, but I know like what the reasons of rejection were. And a lot of them were about corruption and... Oh, I've saved them.
Okay, so there are certain problems that NATO wanted Ukraine to fix before they even start the process.
No, they started the process. Part of the process is fixing the stuff,
Okay. They started the process.
right?
Okay.
And then once... Because basically, like, for example, let's say the US is gonna complain, hey, we don't want them to join NATO because we don't know if we give them funds to modernize their army, if those funds will actually reach the army, right?
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. You know, you're an organization, and you want
Because
the country to abide by certain rules and regulations. Makes sense.
yeah, if you're joining the strongest military alliance, I mean, for fuck's sake, most members of this alliance are not even maintaining their duties, right? Like the 2% GDP invested in your army,
I learned
most
from that.
countries don't do it, and because of that, the US is like kind of holding a higher, let's say, load because of it.
I saw
Because
Okay?
okay,
Be-
okay, so the
because it's supposed to
armies.
be an equal alliance, right, where everyone contributes. But if you have like a bunch of members not contributing, either the alliance loses its powers or a member picks up the slack. In this case, the US have been picking up the slack.
Okay, okay, I see.
Okay? But I mean, it's not like also the US are angels, right? Like they're also getting like a very good deal out of this arrangement, which is, all the geopolitical powers.
Mm, yeah.
me down just builds me up.
So you were saying that mainly what Ukraine gains from joining this NATO is security
Yeah.
and
Also access
protection.
to also access to NATO weaponry, but they have that now.
Mm,
Because like NATO is not just any alliance, right? It's an alliance designed where all members can fight together effectively, which is a huge thing. That basically, like if there is a war, right? Sometimes you're saying, hey, like we can't really coordinate together, right?
yeah.
But all the armies are designed to coordinate together. So even if you have, let's say, like 5 armies versus 5 NATO armies, the integration between NATO armies will be way higher. NATO Air Force is going to be helping, like let's say Canadian Air Force will be helping Australian troops, and the
Mm.
American Navy will be bombing from the side, like fully integrated and working together. That historically, that's not how most alliances work. Most alliances where I do my own shit and you do your own shit, and sometimes we'll cooperate, but not too much.
Australia is not part of NATO, is it?
I think it is. I actually don't know, but I think
It's
it
not on
is.
my list.
Let me Google it. I always thought they were, but now it might make sense that they're not. They might be part of the inside East Asia arrangement, which I know Japan and is part of. Uh, is Australia NATO? No, it's not a NATO country. So never mind about the Australia part.
Okay, but I understand your point. Okay, so wow, that's actually like a very well explained. Uh, you explained the advantages of being part of NATO very
Yeah.
well.
And there is
And it,
one huger advantage. The one that
yeah,
Russia has, the one that the US has, and France and Britain have. The nuclear umbrella. Because the secret of becoming an untouchable nation? Make your own nukes. Once you make your own nukes, no one's gonna want to screw with you. But what if instead you enter an alliance with a country that has its own nukes, and that country, that alliance, there's an article that says an attack against one is considered an attack against all.
mm. So you're saying, what exactly are you saying with that?
I'm saying that the moment you enter NATO, you have nuclear protection of the US, UK, and
Okay,
France.
I see. Okay.
So instead of having to develop your own nuclear program, which is very expensive and makes the world hate you,
But why wouldn't you want to? Why wouldn't you want to be under Russia's protection?
well, because first of all, NATO is way wealthier. Like the countries that make up NATO are way wealthier. Russia,
Entering.
even though the US is a bully, Russia is a way bigger bully, even to its allies.
Mm.
Right? So there's that aspect. And again, it's economy, and also, I mean, you've seen the Russian military versus the NATO military, because Like, you don't want shit to escalate to nukes, right? Like, there is no conventional war. Like, there is no scenario in a conventional war where, like, you know, NATO loses. Like, I just don't see one. Like, especially, like, the only way I see it is gonna be something where it's like, you know, guerrilla war, but not like a straight conventional one-to-one, like, two armies fighting war.
Personally, I think if NATO loses, it's gonna be from the inside.
Yes. And that's actually another thing Putin might have hoped for, that this war would divide NATO.
So actually, that brings a question: why would NATO join in Ukraine's aid when Ukraine is not even part of it yet?
Because dictatorial guy, first of all, because Ukraine borders a lot of NATO nations. Second, dictatorial countries are bad for business, and like I said, they're more likely to start random wars. So that's why.
Does NATO have their own sovereign democracy? How is law applied between NATO, like between NATO countries? Like, do they have their own global laws, or
No,
how is that?
NATO is an alliance, right? It's not like the EU.
It's an alliance.
Yeah, but you have to be a democratic country to join. Now, what makes it complicated, what happens when a country started being, you know, dictatorial after. That's a weird and difficult spot to be in. Right?
Yeah.
But I mean it's even happening right now with the EU. Now that's a country with laws and some enforcement mechanism. And yeah. Oh shit, what happened?
Welcome to Oasis.
What just happened?
What? I'm not watching your.
Oh, the game just changed servers. We were winning too, what the hell? Is the server closed unexpectedly?
Welcome to
And now suddenly like a new game. Anyways,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
Why are it's still like ban controversial politics? Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson.
No, that's a whole different topic. We're talking Ukraine today.
I know, but the keywords are still there.
Oh shoot, I'll have to change them after.
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So. Okay. So you were saying that, well, when a country becomes a dictatorship after joining NATO,
That's a tricky thing, because I don't even know what the mechanism. I think there might be a mechanism for kicking out a nation, right? But then, if that nation is very valuable to you strategically, what do you do?
Can I repeat that?
What?
Repeat that question.
If that nation is very strategically valuable to you, what do you do?
And you're a dictator, or you're a,
No, you're NATO. But the country is not fully a dictatorship, but it's starting to become sketch. What do you do? It's a very interesting challenge with
Well,
NATO.
you wanna kind of like influence it from the inside.
Yeah,
You
well,
wanna make it.
like look, like right now it's a real thing happening with Turkey. Turkey is not really acting in good spirits, okay? But
Okay.
Turkey is like we're allowed to swear on the stream, right? We haven't decided. Let's say what?
Let's say no, we're not allowed.
Damn. Like Turkey
That's just-
has the best geography that exists. Right? Like Turkey can very easily block what's it called? Turkey can very easily block Russia's navy from ever exiting the seaport. Because I don't know if you looked at the geography, but they're literally blocking the Black Sea.
Let's open the map. I love looking at maps. So, Turkey. Okay. Yes. So you're saying that Turkey is blocking the Black Sea.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have seen it, but the moment Turkey recognized the Ukraine invasion as a war, basically they closed the strait. That's why Russia can't enforce the Baltic fleet anymore. Because Turkey is allowed to prevent any military vessels in passing through the strait in case of a war.
Yeah. Right, but can't Russia go to the Black Sea from the north?
What?
Russia.
Oh, yeah,
can-
but they can't. Well, to put the ships there, they have to pass through Turkey, unless they move their ships
to
on
get
land.
You mean to get to like the Mediterranean Sea or any other ocean?
Yeah, that's the thing. Basically, right now the Black Fleet sea that's supposedly participating in the war, right? That fleet is not being used.
Where is that fleet?
No, I mean that fleet can't get any reinforcement. Sorry, to the Black Sea, but it can't get any because they have multiple fleets, right? But the only one they can use for this war is that one because Turkey is blocking it, blocking the path to reinforce that fleet. Like they can't send it any more ships.
From where though? Like where?
Well,
is
they have
the
they have one in near Japan, I think, the Baltic fleet. Not Baltic. I think they have one near the Baltics in Kaliningrad, and like there's a Baltic fleet, and they also might have one near Japan.
Oh my god! I want to play a strategic war game like crazy when I'm looking at that map.
There is a few. I can introduce you to. I think you might like Hearts of Iron 4. It's a World War II game.
Hearts of Iron?
4, yeah.
Mm. Okay.
But yeah, like so now they're blocked. So for example, Turkey is one of those nations where like NATO really doesn't like the directions they're going, but dams are useful strategically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In fact, they're so useful. I think they're probably one of the most secure NATO nations.
You better keep up. This isn't a daycare.
Kids can surprise you.
I see.
Then I better not be
I see.
disappointed.
Kids also disappoint you.
Anyways, what led to this tangent?
Well, we were talking about
Admission to NATO.
Well, yeah, admission to NATO and what happens when a country becomes
Dictatorial
dictatorship.
after.
Real, yeah.
Yeah. Which historically, luckily, it has yet to happen. But, like, the closest thing right now is Turkey.
Yeah. Is Poland part of NATO? Yeah,
Yes.
Poland is part.
Yeah, that's why the missile story that happened recently was scary, because
Yeah.
if that had happened, like, not for real, if this was like a real Ukrainian attack, I mean Russian attack, this could have triggered Article 5.
I want to read the articles of NATO.
I mean, the big one is Article 5. That's the one everyone talks about.
Which
Is
is an Unless it is.
An attack against one is an attack against all.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a big one. What? There's also Article 6 that I first heard of it, but it's basically just a meeting to decide what to do next. But I assume like Article 6 will be invoked before Article 5. But like for example, Article 6 was invoked and then they cancelled it once they learned it was a Ukrainian missile.
The opinion of any military integrity policy security only parties destruction. Yeah. The parties undertake, as set forth in the Charter of the United Nations, to settle any international dispute in which they may be involved by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered, and to refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force in any manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. Okay, whoa, so wait. This Article 1 seems to be very biased to what US wants.
Could you repeat the article? I didn't hear it.
The UN, the Charter of the United Nations.
Yeah.
The UN.
Yeah.
Okay, so Article 1 says, the parties undertake, as set forth in the Charter of the United Nations,
Yeah.
to settle any international dispute in which they may be involved by peaceful means in such a manner that the international peace and security and justice are not endangered, and to refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force in any matter inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. So the United Nations is everyone included in NATO.
Yeah. And other people
Okay.
too.
What other people?
Like I think the United Nations, all nations are allowed to go in.
Okay.
Basically, this is if I understand it correctly, it's a mechanism so you don't just have like you don't have countries just like say okay we're in NATO now, let's invade everyone.
Yeah. Okay, Article 2. Do you mind if I just read through them for a bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So Article 2.
Well, read them
The
out
part-
loud too for our audience.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, our big audience.
Yes.
The parties will contribute toward the further development of peaceful and friendly international relations by strengthening their free institutions, by bringing about a better understanding of the principles upon which these institutions are founded, and by promoting conditions of stability and well-being. They will seek to eliminate conflict in their international economic policies and will encourage economic collaboration between any or all of them. Okay. Like so far in the two articles, there's the word peace, which I like. You know?
Yeah.
That's as far as what NATO is. Article 3. In order more effectively to achieve the objectives of this treaty, the parties, separately and jointly, by means of continuous and effective self-help and mutual aid, will maintain and develop their individual and collective capacity to resist armed attack. I guess that's the GDP one with the
Yeah.
army thing.
Yeah, that basically you can't just join NATO and say I'm not okay, I'm done. Like mission
Yeah.
accomplished, no more military funding.
Yeah, exactly.
Hiding at Shadow.
Okay, so you need to be seeing how which country to be able to join NATO. You know, you need to be able to have money.
No, 2% of your GDP, meaning that if you make $100, you just need to put $2.
Okay. Yeah, well, no, here so far. Well, so far there's no number in health, but probably it will be. There's 14 articles really in total. So, not a big contract there, but okay. So Article 4: the parties will consult together whenever, in the opinion of any of them, the territorial integrity, political independence, or security of any of the parties is threatened. That's the Poland situation.
I think it was either 4 or 6, I'm not sure.
That was 4. Article 5, that's an attack to us, is an attack to all of us. Pretty clear. Article 6 with an asterisk. For the purpose of Article 5, an armed attack on one or more of the parties is deemed to include an armed attack on the territory of any of the parties in Europe or North America, on the Algerian Department of France, on the territory of Turkey, or on the islands under the jurisdiction of any of the parties in the North Atlantic area, north of the Tropic of Cancer, on the forces, vessels, or aircraft of any of the parties when in or over these territories or any other area in Europe in which occupation forces of any of the parties were stationed on the date when the treaty entered into force, or the Mediterranean Sea or the North Atlantic area north of the Tropic of Cancer. Wow, okay, that's very detailed and as what they mean by an attack on us, basically.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to get into. It's confusing. Okay, Article 7. This treaty does not affect and shall not be interpreted as affecting in any way the rights and obligations under the Charter of the parties which are members of the United Nations, or the primary responsibility of the Security Council for the maintenance of international peace and security. Article 8. Each party declares that none of the international engagements now in force between it and any other of the parties or any third state in conflict with the provisions of this treaty, and undertakes not to enter into any international engagement in conflict with this treaty. Okay, that's like conflict of interest type of an article here. Article 9. The parties hereby establish a council on which each of them shall be represented to consider matters concerning the implementation of this treaty. The council shall be so organized as to be able to meet promptly at any time. The council shall set up such subsidiary bodies as may be necessary. In particular, it shall establish immediately a defense committee, which shall recommend measures for the implementation of Articles 3 and 5. Okay, Article 10. The parties may, by unanimous agreement, invite any other European state in a position to further the principles of this treaty and to contribute to the security of the North Atlantic area to accede to this treaty. Any state so invited may become a party to the treaty by depositing its instruments of accession with the government of the United States of America. The government of the United States of America will inform each of the parties of the deposit of each such instrument of accession. Okay, so this is the first time the United States of America, a particular member of NATO, is mentioned.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you think about it, what if US leaves NATO? Like, why are they specifically mentioned compared? Oh no, there are other.
Well, they mentioned France, Algeria, and all of that stuff.
Well, no, they didn't really mention Algeria. They mentioned the
French territories in Algeria and Turkey.
Yeah.
But yes, well, to be honest, I mean, the short answer, at the end of the day, this is an American alliance.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What isn't this like creating some sort of like, yo, it's either you're part of us or you're against us type thing?
I mean, if we said we're gonna attack everyone that's against us, yes, but we say you're part of us and we'll defend you, or we won't, which I don't think is that bad.
Yeah, but you're putting like, what are the rules for you to be able to be part of us except being a democratic country? Like, it feels like if you don't like us for any specific reason because we don't abide by the decision makers of NATO, then even if we have everything that, you know, like even if we are a democratic country that is looking for peace, if you don't like us because we're pro something versus vice versa, you're still not gonna accept us.
I mean, it depends, but yes, we need a unanimous decision. So yeah, so club that's difficult to enter. But take the opposite too. Do you want to make it easy for someone to join the strongest alliance in the world?
Honestly, it's not about that, and it's more about the freedom of a sovereign nation to live in peace with this world without feeling threatened.
Well, okay. So what does that mean? Well,
So let me tell you what that means. So that means that I'm seeing a big organization getting alliance, right? They're getting allied, right? They're forming some sort of like superpower,
yeah,
and this superpower has criterias on what is good or bad for this world. So
Yeah.
far, it seems there are things I could subscribe to. However, I'm not sure to what extent they will impose their ideologies. So, like, there could be in a near future situations where I no longer subscribe to some of the things they're imposing on the world. A simple example, and this is a very hypothetical example.
Yeah.
Let's say we're visited by aliens, okay? Let's say it's just hypothetical, and this world organization says, you know what? We want to join those aliens.
Yeah.
We want to be part of them, and then you, as a sovereign nation, you're like,
No.
hell no, I don't want to. So, like,
Well, first of all, they don't determine internal politics, an alliance, a military alliance. This would be true if you're talking about, let's say, the EU.
yeah, but I'm seeing this right now being unfolded in front of my eyes. An organization that's an American organization. So a lot of it is based on what the United States want.
Like, yeah, American interest.
Yeah, American interest. I mean, I feel like it's only normal that I look into that and question whether this is infringing about my freedom as a nation on this planet.
Is it though? Why would it be normal if this alliance has never been invoked offensively?
That's a good question. So
Okay.
why do I feel threatened by this alliance?
Yeah, like, you can only feel threatened by this alliance if you don't align with certain values, and I would argue most of these values, especially the democratic ones, you know what? You should feel a bit uneasy about being a dictator, right? Especially if
Yeah.
you don't have the public support. Like, yes, it will cause tension, and I don't think, but this is, as old as history, alliances will always cause tensions,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, it's true. I think the reason why I feel threatened is the fact that there's a lot of information regarding secret agendas when it comes to the US, and I don't want to get into conspiracies and all that, but I feel threatened as to who are the real decision makers of this party.
At the end of the day,
But
it's
that
not,
will
it's
always-
not the US, if that's what you. They have a lot of power, again, due to the imbalance of GDP, like Putin. But at the end of the day, Germany refused to join the US in the Iraq wars.
Energy protocols calibrated.
Right? Now, Article 5 was not invoked, right? Because again, Article like it's a purely defensive alliance. Like the only conspiracy that you could be worried about is like a false flag attack, which I would say is a legitimate concern.
What is that? What is it called?
A false flag attack. So basically,
Ah.
I pretend like I was attacked.
Yeah, like kind of the missile on Poland.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me finish up those studies here and those articles. I mean, uh, Okay, so this was the Article 10. Article 11 says this treaty shall be ratified and its provisions carried out by the parties in accordance with their respective constitutional process. The instruments of ratification shall be deposited as soon as possible with the government of the United States of America, which will notify all the other signatories of each deposit. The treaty shall enter into force between the states which have ratified it as soon as the ratifications of the majority of the signatories, including the ratifications of Belgium, Canada, France, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and the United States, have been deposited and shall come into effect with respect to other states on the date of the deposit of their ratifications. Article 12 says, after the treaty has been in force for 10 years or at any time thereafter, the parties shall, if any of them so request, consult together for the purpose of reviewing the treaty, having regard for the factors then affecting peace and security in the North Atlantic area, including the development of universal as well as regional arrangements under the Charter of the United Nations for the maintenance of international peace and security.
Are ready.
Article 13 says, after the treaty has been in force for 20 years, any party may cease to be a party 1 year after its notice and denunciation has been given to the government of the United States of America, which will inform the governments of the other parties of the deposit of each notice of denunciation. Article 14 and final article says, this treaty, of which the English and French texts are equally authentic, shall be deposited in the archives of the government of the United States of America. Duly certified copies will be transmitted by the government to the governments of other signatories. Okay, interesting. It's not a complicated contract
Well,
to really understand.
that's the whole point, right? Like even like the article you read that each country will implement it to its constitution. It's trying to be as clear as possible that it's not like internal politics.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So it was a pretty interesting conversation, Teach. You covered a lot of important points about the Russian-Ukrainian conflict with nice tangents, that are kind of like important yet not necessarily direct factors of the war.
Yeah. Although it would be interesting, right before we wrap up, that you mirror back to me my statements, and I want to just debunk them because it physically hurts me not doing it.
What statements exactly?
Like basically why most of the why the Russian perspective is kind of bullshit.
Okay. Well, so when we asked Putin, right, why do you think that? And right now you're no longer Putin.
Yes.
We asked him why did they make the decision to invade Ukraine. The first answer he said is that NATO has been infringing on his territories.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes, exactly. So what do you think about that?
Well, NATO hasn't. I actually no, it has been too. It is too. NATO has been infringing on his territories. However, who chose to join NATO? Did NATO
Ukraine.
force? Did NATO force any member state to join?
Not that we know of.
No,
Not
right?
that we know.
People like Ukraine joined NATO because of Crimea. It was a large part of it. It sounds like they rebelled because they wanted the trade deal was like not rebelled, like they had the Euromaidan because they wanted to have a trade deal with the EU instead of just one with Russia. They could have probably agreed to one with both. But Russia pushed Ukraine in the arms of NATO when it proved to Ukraine that they're not safe. So that would be my first answer is like, okay, what about Ukraine's sovereignty? Like as a country, shouldn't it be allowed to decide?
Yes, absolutely. But Putin said, unfortunately, Ukraine belongs to Russia. It has a historical claim on the territory. The land is filled with natural gas, which is our main exporter. So therefore, we are entitled to take it.
Except that's not how the right of self-determinism works. And that's not how any modern politics are decided nowadays. Right? Like at the end of the day, you can't just go and take territory because it used to belong to you in a certain historical period. That hasn't been the case for a while. Ukraine had always a very distinct identity, a distinct language. So even though they were part of Russia, it's not like they have been part of Russia by choice.
I'm sorry, sir, but isn't this what Israel is doing for Palestine, claiming to have historical claim on this land?
Well, I'm not really here to defend Israel. I mean, and a better answer and a true one about what about it. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just playing devil's advocate here, but that's okay. So then you know what? Scratch that. I'm a sovereign nation, and I want to protect myself against what seems to be a bigger bully building in the world. And I'd like to take Ukraine to defend my country, and it's a better defense position for me.
You have nukes. No one can attack you. No one is going to be willing to invade a nuclear-owned country. That's just a bullshit excuse.
Gotta stop him.
Okay, well, you know what? Go to hell, okay?
I mean, that's fine. But at the same time, I can tell you to go to hell too and arm the shit out of Ukraine however I want.
Yeah.
That's the whole.
So you're satisfied now to have defended your authentic position
Yes.
as Pete?
Yes, but the problem is you did not do a very good Putin.
Well, what would Putin have said? I basically still believe that I have historical claim to my land. You tell me that my position, the modern politics do not support my
world.
politics.
Yeah, like your
But-
worldview.
The problem is that my worldview and the popular worldview is highly influenced by the West, and I would say that it is not a worldview I subscribe to right now, and I believe that the U.S. claims to be modernized and a democratic country, but they do a lot of shady and hypocrite moves that do not respect some of the broadcasted claims about how democratic and how to say this, ethical they are.
Well, it would go again to two wrongs don't make a right. That the first second, it's not like the US that chose to join NATO, it's Ukraine. What's Ukraine's fault in that? Right?
Well, the thing
Why,
is
why
that
am okay?
Ukraine
Why
is
am I?
not.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that what's going on in Ukraine now is not without the influence of NATO.
How?
There was a meeting between Zelensky and NATO at multiple occasions, and he was influenced to leave and want to go for NATO.
No, that's not true.
Yes.
He did.
There was no.
There were meetings, but the meetings happened because Zelensky wanted to join NATO. You were flipping the events. And heck, you know what? Even let's pretend NATO tried to convince him, right? What's wrong with that? With NATO's offering him a great deal. It's offering him to enter an alliance with some of the richest countries in the world, and entering that alliance is just gonna make like his life so much better as Ukraine, and they're gonna make the average Ukrainian's life so much better, especially when you compare it to Russia.
That doesn't make sense. You already said I have nukes. No one will attack me.
No.
Ukraine joining is guaranteeing their security.
What do you mean? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For Ukraine, it's a great deal to join NATO.
No, I'm saying for Ukraine to join Russia is also a very great deal in terms of security, which is the one thing.
But not for economy. Like I said, there are two factors. First, security. Second, there's a difference between conventional security and unconventional one. Right? Like, conventionally, Russia's not keeping you secure. Exhibit A, they abandoned by saying Armenia. Yeah, it's during the height of this war, but yeah, they technically abandoned Armenia. So, you're not guaranteed security, and more importantly, entering NATO means entering the economic club of, well, the NATO countries. Because, like, NATO countries tend to promote trade in between themselves.
I don't know. So I know what you're saying, but it's as if you're saying that you are aware of what Ukraine wants by looking at recent events and as the president wanting to join NATO, but that's not what the population wants.
That's what the democratically elected president wants, and if he doesn't represent the will of the people, unless you can prove to me that there are some voter fraud in Ukraine, which has not been proven, then what you're saying is bullshit. Especially, you can't say now that people don't want that when you see how fiercely they are resisting the Russian invasion. Or by clearly how they literally rebelled against the president who wanted bigger ties with Russia instead of the West. Like, the evidence is there. Because it's not like it's just a money game, it's also, I mean, it's not just a security game, it's also a trade game, a security game. Which country will get you bigger bang on your buck?
The problem is someone from my position as a highly political individual, as being me, Putin.
Yeah.
There are things I see that you do not see. That are
What
not
are
with.
they? What are they?
That's what I'm about to explain that.
Yeah.
The thing that's going on right now is that I understand what my little country, the country I love, which is Ukraine, you know, I understand why they're suffering right now because economically it's not going well for us. Even us as a nation, as Mother Russia, it's not going well for us. And they're being tempted by the voice of the West that all their problems are going to be resolved if they join this NATO organization.
Do you have any evidence that this was promised to them?
I mean, you were the one who said what are the advantages of Ukraine joining is the economy. Is that they.
So, do you believe you will provide a better economic alternative than NATO? You.
I am saying
the 11th. No. Well, you're Putin now, so I'm gonna be aggressive with Putin. You, the 11th GDP country in the world, is gonna do better than the first, the US alone. You're gonna do better than them. That's what you said.
It's more like I would care for them like a mother would care about their child because they are historically part of Russia.
Yeah, it's just like how they starve to death under Russian rule.
The only reason you want Ukraine to join you is because for their geographic position. That's it. You don't care about them. You care about the people.
Wait, you think NATO needs a geographic position to beat you?
It's definitely an advantage because it is an advantage for me to have Ukraine. Therefore, NATO is gaining by preventing me from getting that position.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of funny how the second strongest army in Ukraine is trying to say that the NATO needs Ukraine to beat them. It's just hilarious.
I didn't say that NATO needs Ukraine to beat us. I say that NATO does not want to see Russia and Ukraine united once and for all.
Yeah, but Ukraine doesn't want to be united with Russia. Ukraine hates
Like I
Russia.
said, Ukraine is suffering with their economy right now, and they're trying to find desperate solutions. And now you have the devil, you know, the devil coming and speaking and saying, Ukraine, join us. You will be safe with all your problems. But the NATO has no solution for their economy. They will never be able to help them, and Ukraine will be lost
Uh,
without Russia.
except one thing. Ukraine is mainly joining for security. Do you know why they're
And
joining for security? Because their neighbor, when they took an economic decision they didn't like, just chose to invade them. That's why. NATO never invaded Ukraine. The people chose to go in. Meanwhile, Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia caused the mass deaths in Ukraine. Russia caused Ukrainians to starve. They systematically genocided Ukrainians pretty much.
You know what, Teach? I am not a man with no flaws. I am not. Every state makes mistakes. And I have, at multiple occasions, promised Ukraine for a better future.
And just because you want to provide it, that means whatever Ukraine wants, they're not allowed to have? Because you decided that you know better for them? Just like you knew when you're better for them when you starved them?
The thing is that, you know, when you have a country that wants certain things happen, that are not necessarily doable in the way they want them, and when I refuse to give,
Just admit it. You don't give a shit about what Ukraine wants. You just want to do what you want.
well, the good of Russia is the good of Ukraine. We are one. We have been divided in the past, but we are one. The good, when Russia prospers, Ukraine prospers.
But that's not how Ukraine sees it.
Yes, and there are internal conflicts going on between a mother and her child, but it is not up to the West to come and get involved in there.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. If a mother is abusing her child, I think someone should intervene.
Here is the analogy I would like to give you. Let's say I have a son. Let's say now we're talking father-wise because I'm a man. Let's say I have a son and I come and my son says, I don't want you as a father. And he's mad, he's pissed because the son does not see what the father sees.
Yeah.
And then there's a devious man comes around the son and say, hey, if you want another father, I can give you everything you want. And then the son is attracted to this opportunity and the son says, oh yes, I want to change my father. Now you're saying, that's what you're saying. You're saying, oh, because the son is wanting to choose.
Well, did you forget the part where the father beat the shit out of his son? Because that's the part that you left out.
Wrong with little violence. There's
What?
nothing wrong with little violence for discipline. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, well then there's nothing wrong with when the fake father or the other guy finds you to be abusive to come and use violence on you too, because there's nothing wrong with a little bit of violence.
Yes, but the problem with that devious father is that sometimes it tolerates violence, yeah, but other times it does it when it suits their interest.
Or maybe that other person is just trying their best, and sometimes they mess up, sometimes they do well.
You know what? Maybe, but there is doubt, and that's what I wanted to raise in your mind today. Doubt. What is the real interest in that devious father?
Well, no, the real interest is very obvious. The more democratic countries you have, the less volatile the world becomes.
I don't know, because it seems that violence is tolerated by this democratic union in some places, but not in others. And when it suits them in some way, they act upon it and they come in and influence and or not influence, make their sales pitch. Let's put it that way. They will make their sales pitch and then let things unfold. That's why I call this particular father devious, because there's manipulation involved. It's not straightforward. You know, they're smart.
Except there's no, even, you know what, even if there's manipulation, at the end of the day, a country has a right of self-determinism. Okay, you know what? If first of all, you don't. First of all, that's all you're talking as if the child is 5 years old. That's a grown-ass man that you're talking about. Okay, so that's a big difference in your analogy. Right? Maybe he was your son at some point, but I think that grown-ass man is allowed to choose his family. And if the father is truly devious, then hey, it's not like you're forced to stay in that alliance. You can always leave.
You know what? I do not disagree that
I mean, I'm putting you in a hard position.
what?
I mean, you have a hard task.
Yes, but I'm gonna say this
What?
because I like to play devil's
Yeah.
advocate. So and you're defending your position very well. And I think maybe next podcast we should maybe do something like that where we take the position of individuals and see where it goes.
Yeah.
But anyways, I agree that the adult man has now he has the right for self-determinism and making his own decisions.
Yeah.
However, what I am against is seeing that this old man that is allowed for self-determinism is being misinformed on how they will be treated once they join this alliance.
And
I cannot.
how do you know that? Where is your historical evidence of that?
There is a reason why I have constantly been against NATO.
Yes,
It's not
you're a dictator because you don't like the fact that they like to give power to the people because you always feel like you know better. You sound like how you feel you know better for your son right now.
Absolutely, I know better.
And there you go.
You know what? Where do you live? I'm gonna invade your country right now.
Good luck. I live in China. That would be good. Russia versus China. Long live Winnie the Pooh.
It's been fun and informative and entertaining, actually.
Yes.
I think for our next podcast, I would love to play devil's advocate by picking a position that you are against on purpose
Yeah.
and try to defeat you.
Yeah. Although I will tell you, I'll play much less nicely next time. Because the whole sun analogy, I would not entertain this in a more serious discussion.
It was a very good analogy, I find, because
Yes and no, because
there is-
countries are not children, right? That's why I've been pushing it, the analogy itself. But no, because like you can't do, like Ukraine is not Russia's child. It's not even close. That's not the geopolitical thing at all. Ukraine was more like the beaten child slave of Russia that has always been beaten and forced to follow Russia's will, right?
but it was still a child of Russia. It was still part of Russia. It was, I guess,
It was
even
all part
child
of. Yeah, it was forcibly a part of Russia, just like how Poland used to be a part of Russia and part of Germany,
even
right? Like, once you get into that, right? But again, I was talking to you as if you were Putin, not someone supporting Putin, which is very
Yeah.
different too. Because if you were someone supporting Putin, I'll be like, okay, so you think it's fair game then that they attack Poland next? It's fair game that Germany attacks Poland. You want to basically create a world where anyone who ever had any historical claim to a land should just be able to attack it.
No, well, the only reason why, well, anyways, we're not gonna get into
Yeah.
it now. I think I'm going to wrap it, but I would have had something to say for that. But anyways, I think that it would be nice for debate purposes to have some sort, like I've read about some formal debates and how they do it. Well, I don't know if we want to go the debate route necessarily, but it would be fun to have some sort of debate
Well,
episodes. Doesn't have to
well, it's an opposition style discussion would be better, right? Because I'm not trying to like beat you into submission as such as I'm just trying to show the flaws in your argumentation.
Yeah, but the problem is that like already now you have points to continue, and I have points, and
Yeah,
at some point, we can continue
we could do
forever without.
we no, we could do a part two that's, let's say, more research based, or we could pick another topic. Because I'm
I
gonna
would be down. I would be down for part two actually. We
late.
could do part two. We will name it uh, Putin versus.
No, it will
Uh,
be more like a support for the
no, no,
war
no.
or
We
not.
make it
Because
controversial. We'll make a controversial topic. You want viewers to be in that next podcast.
yeah, but
So
the problem with role play, right, is that you're doing so much guesswork. It's more like popcorn information than real valid information. Like, how can I say it? Like the whole exercise of me pretending to be Putin is not that high value because I'm not Putin. I don't know how he thinks, and same goes to you, right? At the end of the day, to me, there is higher value on taking actions on the ground, seeing the results, the consequences, and what enables them, and discussing if someone has the right to do something, if NATO is overreaching its powers by supporting Ukraine. Like, all of these things are very valid questions that can be much more debated than what does Putin think.
it's well, I see your point, but saying Putin and I'm merely stating the title of the podcast. It doesn't
Oh, okay, okay,
necessarily
okay,
mean.
okay. But it's
Yeah, yeah.
just like if we're doing this, it's gonna be more of like it's we're not gonna like in a serious discussion, role playing is hard. In a casual laid back one like this one, yeah, sure, why not, right?
Well, what I would say is I would call Putin versus NATO the title of the podcast,
Yeah,
or Putin is whatever other opposition,
yeah,
and then that's the title. And then during the actual discussion, then obviously we'll make disclaimers on like we are not in Putin's head to
yeah,
determine what he
yeah.
actually thinks, but this is him defending, or this is someone trying to pick his position
Yeah,
defending.
it's better to be like a defender or a supporter. I mean, more interestingly, if you could get actually someone who supports Putin for a discussion like this, that would be infinitely more interesting because I'm assuming you're role playing basically, which almost cheapens the whole exercise a little.
So you would be down to debate someone who actually is a supporter of Putin?
Discuss, not a full on debate. But obviously, I'll not go in like I went in right now.
Yes. So what are the positions, what are the points that you would like to discuss?
NATO, first of all, the justification for the invasion, NATO's
Okay.
overreach, like what, and like I would say alternative realities, but or maybe even alternative realities, like what would happen if NATO didn't help at all? Like, what is the resulting world from this? And like things like that, right? Because basically, if someone believes either the invasion was justified or NATO shouldn't help out Ukraine, right? One of these two, then this
Let's keep it in point form. So justification for invasion is one point. What
NATO's reaction, like you support or lack, and probably the person who would be like pro Russia would be anti NATO support.
okay, okay. Okay.
So yeah,
Would you be interested in, because you understand that whoever is gonna want to discuss this is controversial, like is against popular vote right now.
yeah,
So they might have they might have conditions as to where the on which channel the debate happens.
it should
Or
happen on both.
okay, on both channels.
Yeah, yeah, no, we can't monopolize it for sure.
Yeah. I'm actually willing to go and find someone who's willing to have that discussion with you, and I will act as a mediator if you're really interested.
I am interested,
Okay. All right.
but like schedule first of all next Monday. I have a thing. Can
Yeah.
get into it to
Yeah.
not dox myself.
It's actually perfect because I mean it's probably gonna take some time, maybe
Yeah.
a month or
Yeah.
to
The
prepare.
second thing is I'll need to study the shit out of for this because it's not gonna be just a conversation with you. Like the person will ask me like, "Where are your sources?" So I'll need to have like a document prepared with sources and stuff.
Okay, so in that case, so the next objective, because obviously it's gonna take some time, but I'd like to set it as a goal for us.
Yeah.
Actually, let's
But I
end the
think
stream and
the one thing, okay, let's close the statement, talk about some background stuff.